Hello and welcome to another Synergy Studio video. We want to show you today how to use the foam half roll and foam full roll to work your core, increase your spinal stability, and challenge your mind. First thing we're going to get into is how to get on and off those foam rolls. We're going to show the half roll first, and Elise is going to roll to her side, aligning her spine with the length of the foam roll, and just a log roll on. Little adjustments to make sure that the center of the spine is in line with the center of the roll. And to dismount off the roll, it's going to be the opposite. You'll just roll to your side and press yourself up to sitting. Now to get on the full roll, you could do the same thing, but it's quite a bit higher. It's about 6 inches high. So often we'll just cue people to sit at the very end of the foam roll and use the hands to support as we roll down to get the entire spine again in line with the foam roll. So that was a nice little demonstration of why you want to sit all the way at the end so that as you roll down your head's on the roll, but you can just adjust yourself into position. Now, to align yourself on the foam roll for the purposes of our exercises and the purposes of aligning your spine, you want to make sure that starting from the top of your body, that your weight is on the back of your head in a position such that you've got a lengthened curve at the back of the neck, which we can see clearly here in this picture. Now I'm going to have Elise just do a little chin nod, nodding her chin in towards the Adam's apple and then lifting the chin up a little bit, just like you're nodding yes, a very small nod. And as you go into the bottom of the nod, you'll notice that that's where the back of the neck elongates. Find a comfortable position where you've got that elongation, and that's where the head should be. Now as we travel down to the shoulders, we're going to take our attention to the back of the body where the shoulder blades are on the back of the rib cage. And we want to feel that there is a little bit of a touch of the inside border of each shoulder blade into the foam roll, and that each shoulder blade feels like it is equidistant from the apex of that roll. Now as we travel down from the shoulder blades, we want to feel the rest of the rib cage as we travel down the rib cage towards the lower ribs. We're going to feel that there's some pretty good contact of the spine through there, but as you get to the lowest ribs, you'll feel that the spine starts to lift ever so slightly away from the foam roll until in the center of the lumbar spine, the lower back, there's a nice little curve there between the lower back and the roll. One of the more frequent positional faults that we'll see is that there's too much arch of the rib cage. Now, as we come down to the pelvis, you want to feel that your weight is indeed in the center of the pelvis. And the full roll makes this very easy to feel, as does the half roll, because the curve of the foam roll comes up to the sacrum at the back of the pelvis. And it's that center line, right where the center seam at the back of your pants will lie on the back of your pelvis, that you want to have aligned with the apex of the foam roll. Now to check your position of your pelvis, some little pelvic curls can be very helpful, just like the head nods were helpful for the neck curve. So I'm going to have Elise go into some very small tilts of the pelvis, and here she's showing you a flat back position, and then she's going to roll into a little bit of an arch, using the legs as little as possible to make this movement of the pelvis happen so it stays a very small grade movement. You continue to tilt back and forth, making the movement smaller and smaller until you find a place that feels like it's in the center of the back of the pelvis. And as you pause there, take your fingers to the front hip bones, slide them in about 1/3 of the way towards the belly button, and you should feel that there's a little bit of tightness in that muscle. It feels like it's gotten a little bit taut, and that will let you know that you're in your true neutral. Now if you don't feel that tautness, make some more little adjustments towards flat back and away from flat back until you feel like you've got some decent tightness underneath those fingertips where you can actually palpate. Then the hands can come back down to the side. Now our attention turns to the feet. And we want to have the feet about hip width apart. So that would be just enough space for a small fist to pass between the knees. So as you are on your back, you can just lift your head and take a look to make sure that there's about a fist width between the knees. We don't want to have anything much wider than that. Great. Now we've got our alignment: head, neck, shoulders, rib cage, pelvis, thighs, and feet. and we're ready to begin challenging that alignment. Now, our key element in all of this is going to be our breathing and our core control. What the core control does is it keeps you steady on this unsteady surface, the foam roll. So we want to start with some breathing. We want to get that full expansion of the rib cage as we fill our lungs to the lowest lobes of the lungs. And then as you exhale, feeling that squeeze around those same lungs as the muscles tighten and wrap around the trunk. Continue to breathe for about 5 breath cycles, or however many you need, to feel that you're making this connection happen deep into your body. This is a very deep layer of muscle called your transverse abdominis that wraps all the way around your body from your lower back vertebrae on the right, around your right waist, passes through some fascia in the center of your body, around to the left side waist, and back to the left lumbar vertebra. Try to feel the depth of that muscular wrap as you exhale. And know that in order to have that full deep exhale, you need a nice deep full inhale, opening up those ribs. So we've got the diaphragmatic breath now, creating a rhythm, acting as a metronome for the movement. Now we're going to go into some arm movement, and as Elise starts to energize her arms, you're going to see the elbows straighten, the palms slide along the floor, and she's checking into the shoulder blades in the back of her body to make sure that there's a light connection with the foam roll. She's going to take a breath in to prepare for movement, and then as she exhales, the arms are going to come up to about chest height, and we're going to turn the palms to face each other. Good. Now we're going to open the arms out wide as we take a breath in, stretching, filling the lungs with air, and then exhaling to bring the palms back towards center. Inhaling as those arms open and stretch out wide, and exhaling to bring those arms to center. Filling those lungs, feel the rib movement, and bring those arms back to center. Now as you continue breathing and moving, send your attention to the back of the rib cage, making sure that the back of the rib cage is not going into too much of an arch as those arms open up wide. Find the control. And we'll do one more repetition here, opening and coming back to have the hands in line with the armpits. And now we're going to take the left arm overhead, and then we'll bring it back in line with the right hand. We're going to switch and do the right hand. And back. Good. Now keep on breathing. Find the rhythm of your breath for this. And think about what we were just doing with the arms opening and closing as far as what's happening with the contact of your rib cage. Try to keep the ribs pretty much in contact with that foam roll as the arm goes overhead. That's where you'll have the tendency to arch. Good. And now that we've done single arm, let's do both arms together. Finding the best breath to control that arching potential of the upper back, which is going to be your exhale. And then once you feel that you are consistently keeping your ribs in their best position on the foam roll, you can change the breath to challenge yourself, because that inhale is going to make it a little more difficult to keep yourself from arching away from the foam roll. The increased challenge is the inhale with the overhead reach. So if you feel like you're not keeping those ribs in place, go back to the exhale with the overhead reach until you can build some strength and connection with those upper abdominal muscles. We're going to do one more repetition and then bring the arms all the way down to the side. Now this is where Lisa's going to pick up some 1-pound weights to her side. And we're going to add a little twist to the first arm exercise we did. So we're going to take a preparatory breath in, then exhale and bring both arms up in line with the shoulders. And now instead of both arms going out wide to the side, one arm is going to move at a time. This is going to create a greater challenge for the abdominal obliques on the opposite side to the way that the arm is moving. So as that right arm moves to the side, Elise's left obliques are working pretty darn hard. Right obliques are working as well. She's working to stay centered on the foam roll. The goal is to keep that foam roll steady. And again, it's the abdominals that are going to do the work. The arms simply add the challenge. Just the weight of the arms by themselves may be a sufficient challenge at this point in time. You do not need to add the weights. Do not expect that you're going to go quite so far to the side as Elise is demonstrating. As you begin, try with a smaller range with your focus on keeping that roll steady, and as your core gets stronger, as your brain figures out the movement, you'll be able to move more fully. And we'll finish with one more to the right, and bring both arms together and then both arms down to the side. Now we're going to take a moment to grab a ring that's off to the side. You could use a ball or a pillow between your thighs, but if you have the ring, that would be a great inner thigh exercise for you. So you place the ring between the thighs. You want to make sure that you're not on the bones of the knees. You're going to check again quickly your alignment on the foam roll, starting with your head, coming to your shoulder blades. You're a little more familiar with those shoulder blades now that we've done the arm work. The curve in the lower back, the weight in the center of the pelvis. Now the breathing is going to be an inhale as the legs come apart and an exhale as the legs squeeze together. You want the movement to be smooth and continuous. You want the breath to be smooth and continuous. You want the position on the foam roll to be steady, no side-to-side wiggle. And you want the work to keep that pelvis stable and that spine stable, coming from deep down in that lower band of abdominals that you had your fingers on earlier to check that you were in your neutral. That low piece of the transverse abdominis. And again, remembering that the breath is key to renewing that abdominal tightness. Just look at the wrinkles that we can see in Elise's shirt down over that lower abdominal wall as she completes the squeeze. And 2 more squeezes, nice and smooth. You're working just as hard on the way out as you are on the way in to control and resist the tension that you've built up in the circle. Now we'll take the circle out from between the legs. And again, if you had a ball or a pillow, you'd be removing that at this time. And now we're going to go into some leg lifts. So we're going to have our focus on the pelvis again. The movement happens exclusively in the hip joint, in the ball and socket joint of the hip. The roll is to stay steady and the breath is to stay constant. We're going to take a breath in and then exhale and lift one leg. Inhale as you lower that leg back down, touching toe ball of the foot heel. And then on your next breath, you're going to lift the opposite leg. So once the breath gets going, it creates this nice continuous movement. You inhale as your leg comes down so that you're ready to exhale and lift. Notice if any tension works into the shoulders or neck. Try to keep the relaxation through those shoulders and neck. And you can challenge yourself again by changing the breath, by inhaling to lift and exhaling to lower. Now on this next lift of the left leg, Elise is going to lift and hold, and she's going to bring the other leg up to join on the exhale. At this point, the curve in the lower back flattens out. Check into the shoulders, the neck, make sure the head is heavy. And now what we're going to do is send one leg away at a time, keeping the lower back heavy. So we're going to take a breath in, we're going to exhale and send one leg away, straightening the knee, taking the leg out at an angle. Good. Then we're going to inhale and bend. And exhale, switch legs. As you switch legs, the roll might start to wiggle wobble. Take the wiggle wobble out by working in more deeply with your breath, with your intention of tightening the muscular wrap around your waist. Find the precision in your weight, staying right in the center of the pelvis. And if this is feeling a little bit too much of a challenge, you can modify by taking your legs straight up to the ceiling. That will help you to build the core strength so that you can progress to the angular leg.